And Erik Smith joins us now. Well said, my friend.
Well, you know, it's a difficult day. Billy and I go back over 50 years. It's a long time to have a friend. And passings are part of, I guess, growing older. And it's never easy. And I can just, remember a million memories, and all of them fond. Bill and I used to do the weather. For a while I was doing the weather at 6 and 11 when Jim Smith had a heart attack, and we managed to go out every night and talk about the news over a glass of milk and toast. And
of course.
But Bill was just too dynamic to be contained in one city, and yet this city loved him. He went away, as I did, and we all came home.
Yeah.
And you told us at 6 o'clock that when Bill was hired here, you originally said, this is a mistake.
Yes, absolutely. Bill Fife was the news director here, and we had a very small staff. Lee McNew, Dave Dials, and Pat Morris did the weather, and I did most of the writing. But Bill Fife said, "I'm going to hire that Bonds kid. He's a goer." I said, "He's a pain in the And I said, "You don't know anything about him." I said, "He's got an ego that goes forever." And he said, "Well, I'm going to hire him," and he did. And Bill and I have chuckled over that story for years. But
it was a different time back then, Erik,
It
too, when you
was.
look at TV news, I mean, there was a time, I think, when it was like half of anybody watching television at 5 o'clock at night were watching Channel 7. I
Yeah,
mean, they
they
didn't
were.
have the options that they have today, cable and so many things. So everybody knew Bill Bonds.
Well, actually, when Bill started, you saw a little bit with Dr. Martin Luther King there
Yeah.
and some other things. We didn't even have film cameras when Bill started.
Wow.
I was paying a guy by the name of Dick Weiss $5 to take a Polaroid picture of a fire and bring it in, and we'd take a picture of one of the cameras. That's how far we've come. It's silly. That interview with Dr. King, Billy just blew in there and took over, and that's what we did. He led the charge. But later on with Benny Marshall and just Jim Harrington and the people.
It became a powerhouse, yet Bill
Yeah.
was still the
He
driving
was the-
force, wasn't
Absolutely. He demanded excellence, no matter what you did. I know as a reporter out in the street, you trembled in fear after your report because Bill was bound and determined to ask you a question that you hadn't covered in your piece. And boy, you better be prepared.
Yeah.
Right. My sister wrote for him. Jackie
Oh,
worked
did
in the
she?
newsroom, and she wrote for him, and she would say, I mean, just the fear of death, that,
Oh, yeah.
that never to
Who
get
wrote
anything
this?
wrong, because if he walked out of here saying who wrote this, you knew you were in trouble,
But that was the demand that put us, I think,
Yes.
into the #1 position in this town and where we've stayed for so many, many years. Excellence, period, was demanded from our bosses, and Billy just carried that same torch. Diana, we've all grown up here. I'm kind of one of the last of that early generation now, and it makes it even more difficult for me to
course.
see Bill pass. But we lost Phil Nye, who was one of our news directors and another driving force this year. So, we're all getting more mature.
Yes, yes.
That's the way to say it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so
Yes.
much
My pleasure.
for the look back at Bill's career and for your comments here, Erik. You remain very, very special to all of us.
Well, I was blessed to have a wonderful friend for 50 years. He taught me an awful lot and demanded much of me, and I think I did the same to him.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Thank you, Erik.
All right,
Very
guys.
much.
Erik Smith joined us on the set here, remembering Bill Bonds, and we can.